There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from work, but from your own procrastination. It wakes you each morning with a hollow feeling, not because you lack time, but because you've wasted it too many times. You know you need to change, but instead of moving, you lie there, letting another day slip by. And at night, in that silence before sleep, the same old question returns. What am I doing with this life? If you've ever heard that question echo in your mind, you're not alone. But you also can't keep making excuses. No one's coming to pull you out of bed. No one's going to live your life for you. No one's responsible for the future you keep postponing. Stoicism doesn't tell you to wait for motivation from outside. It reminds you that the strength is already within you, buried under the dust of comfort, under emotions left undisciplined. Only when you face the truth and choose to act do you begin to truly live. So if you're ready, start here. 1. There is no perfect moment, only immediate action. There was a man I once knew. He often spoke with conviction that he'd start over next week. He would write the first draft, clean up his life, hit the gym, end the toxic relationship he knew was dragging him down. But when the new week arrived, he'd say, "Not now. Too much going on. I need more time to prepare properly." And then the months passed, then years. I saw him again after a stretch of life. He still said the same things, but the light in his eyes was gone. Nothing had changed except the weariness etched into his voice. We often fail to act not because we don't know what to do, but because we wait for something that doesn't exist, the perfect moment. We wait for things to settle down, for our mind to be ready, our schedule to open up, our emotions to stabilize. But life is not designed to align with your feelings. It will always be messy, unpredictable, and full of obstacles. Waiting for the right time is the most subtle form of self-deception. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "To not act when the time has come is to act against reason itself." But in our era, reason is often defeated by the vague voice in your head, the one that says, "I'm not ready." The truth is, you're not lacking time. You're not lacking knowledge. You're just avoiding the discomfort that always comes with beginning. Let's be honest. How many times have you promised yourself you'd change next week? How many times have you said, "I'll start when I feel motivated"? But the truth is, if you wait until you're inspired to do the hard thing, you'll never do it. Because motivation is not the spark that starts the fire. It's the reward that comes after you take the step, even if it's shaky and messy. One winter afternoon, I remember standing outside the gym door. My shoes were freezing cold, my heart pounding like I was facing something beyond me. I didn't want to go in. No specific reason, just a quiet whisper in my mind. Not today. Tomorrow will be easier. But instead of turning away, I counted in my head, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and pushed the door open. I don't remember the workout, but I remember the feeling clearly. I had conquered myself. You will never truly be ready. None of us is ever fully ready for what matters. We're never perfectly prepared to begin a new habit, have a difficult conversation, or start a new chapter in life. And that's why the scariest thing isn't failure. It's waiting so long that you no longer believe in starting at all. Stoicism doesn't teach you to suppress emotions. It teaches you to see them like passing clouds, neither clinging to them nor rejecting them, and to act in spite of them. You're afraid to begin. Do it anyway. You're uncertain. Do it anyway. You don't feel good enough. Do it anyway. Because action is what makes you grow. Not thoughts, not inspiration, but the daily repetition of showing up. Think of the things you once wanted to do: writing a book, building a YouTube channel, strengthening your body, walking away from a lifeless job. Don't ask if you're capable. Ask, can I take the first step today? If the answer is yes, you're already ahead of 99% of those still waiting for the perfect day. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. You just need to begin with something very small, but it must begin now. Maybe it's a first sentence, a single workout, a firm decision, because the perfect moment never comes on its own. But you can create that moment through your own action. 2. Morning is a battlefield, and you are the first warrior to rise. There's a battle most people never recognize, yet almost everyone is losing. It happens quietly, without blood, without screams, only the sound of an alarm breaking the morning silence. And in those first seconds of the day, your soul is faced with a seemingly harmless decision: get up or stay down. But that very moment where you choose between discipline and delay is where you determine the fate of your entire day. I used to be the person who chose to stay down, not once or twice, but hundreds of times. Every morning I had a good excuse: too cold, too early, too tired, too much going on. And every time I thought I was just buying myself 10 more minutes, but I wasn't. I was bargaining with my own mental strength. I didn't know that every time I hit snooze for the 3rd time, I was teaching my brain that willpower didn't have to be obeyed. And that was the first lesson that pulled me away from every goal I had set. You don't need to conquer the world in one day, but you must not surrender in the first minutes. Because if you lose in the first 10 minutes, you'll carry the spirit of a defeated person the whole day. On the other hand, if you overcome the soft temptation of warm sheets, you're sending a signal to your deepest self. I give the orders here. Picture yourself as a warrior stepping onto a battlefield. No weapons, no preparation, head unclear, armor undone. You have no chance of winning. And that's exactly how you begin each day: your spirit not summoned, your body unfocused, your mind directionless. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you struggle to rise in the morning, remind yourself, I was made to do more than lie beneath warm blankets." That isn't meant to inspire, it's meant to wake you from the illusion that you can live an extraordinary life with ordinary mornings. I tried changing. Not by forcing myself to wake at 5 a.m., but by winning the first 5 minutes. No phone, no excuses. Just sit up, place my feet on the ground, drink a glass of cold water, and say something simple to myself. I wasn't born to live small. And strangely enough, that tiny ritual was enough to shift the direction of my day. You may not notice it, but your morning emotions shape your mood, your decisions, and your energy for the next 12 hours. If you start in a rush, you live the day in reaction. If you start with laziness, you keep choosing the lazy path. But if you begin with a single disciplined act, even the smallest, it leads to a chain of structured, intentional, rational actions. Many say, I'm not a morning person. But you don't have to be a morning person. You just need to be someone who refuses to surrender in the morning. Because if you keep pressing snooze, you're practicing the habit of quitting without realizing it. Victory doesn't always look like a grand conquest. Sometimes it's just a tired, unmotivated person who still sits up, gets out of bed, and starts the day with a strong decision. And that's what separates the ones who move forward from the ones who stay stuck. You don't need motivation to begin. You only need to command your body to move before your mind has time to negotiate. Because action doesn't follow emotion. Action leads emotion. Discipline is the flag you plant every morning to declare to the world, I will not be defeated. So tomorrow, when the alarm rings, what will you do? Hit snooze and ask for more comfort? or rise and declare war on the weaker version of yourself right from the very first minute? You know the answer, and you also know what happens if you keep losing that moment. 3. Discipline is the antidote to dopamine addiction. There was a habit I used to repeat every morning, like an old song no one wanted to hear anymore. I'd grab my phone, scroll through countless notifications. My eyes barely open, but my brain already flooded by the noise of the world. Each time I saw a positive comment, a new message, or an inspiring clip, I felt like I had done something. But just an hour later, as daylight truly entered the room, I realized I hadn't begun anything important at all. That activated feeling I mistook for progress was just dopamine playing its tricks. Dopamine isn't bad. It's the brain's reward signal. But your brain, unless trained, will always chase the easiest reward. A like, a short video, a snack, an excuse to delay. And when rewards become too cheap, you lose all drive for the ones that actually matter, like a strong body, meaningful work, or a life of depth. The enemy of progress isn't failure. It's the illusion of progress, while you're just spinning the wheel of quick stimulation. You read a post about discipline. You watch a video about good habits. You feel like you're changing, but in truth, nothing is moving except the hormones inside your brain. And that is dopamine's trap. It convinces you that you've done something when you've only scratched the surface of real action. Discipline is the only force strong enough to pull you out of that loop. Not because it's exciting, but precisely because it's not. No instant rewards, no applause, no spotlight. Just you, a small act, repeated, and a quiet commitment that needs no announcement. Discipline is the promise you keep to yourself when no one is watching and no one is applauding. Marcus Aurelius once reminded, when you don't feel like doing what must be done, remind yourself this is for me, for my nature, for my responsibility to this existence. Discipline doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from knowing what is right and doing it, even when it's not appealing. Take a look at your day. Each time you meant to work out, but opened your phone instead. Each time you wanted to write a chapter, but chose to clean your room. Each time you felt down and said, I need a motivational video. Those were the moments dopamine was in control, not you. And by nightfall, you wonder, why am I so tired yet accomplished nothing? Because your energy was drained by cheap rewards, your brain now craves like an addict, craving a fix. To break that loop, you must agree to one condition. Endure the boredom. Write a page without editing. Train even when there's no visible progress. Learn a skill no one notices. That's when you begin detaching from dopamine. That's when you start building inner strength, where the reward doesn't come from outside, but from a quiet certainty within. I did what I had to, not for anyone else, but because I am the kind of person who keeps his word. Discipline doesn't need music, applause, or excitement. It needs resolve. It needs one firm no to the easy and one firm do it to the hard. It's how you reclaim the focus that's been stolen by endless videos, clever excuses, and all those I'll do it later moments that never arrive. You won't always feel ready, but you can always be willing. And the moment you act without needing to feel like it, that's the moment you defeat dopamine and take back control of your life. Try one day without social media, one day without complaining, one day of doing only what must be done. And you'll see in the silence and simplicity something else will emerge. Self-respect. And when you live long enough with discipline, you'll no longer need to be pushed, because the quiet strength of a self-led life will be enough to lead the way. 4. You are the sum of the habits you repeat every day. You are not defined by what you say you'll do. You don't become someone just because you have big dreams, beautiful goals, or well-written plans in a notebook. Your true self is built through what you do in silence, every day, again and again, even when no one is watching, even when you think it doesn't matter. Because in the end, you don't live by bursts of willpower. You live by habit. I once met a man who introduced himself as a writer. He spoke of his first book in the works, of grand ideas and sleepless nights tangled in plot lines. When I asked, "How many words do you write each day?" he fell silent, then admitted he hadn't started yet, but soon. I didn't judge. I had once been him. I used to call myself disciplined, yet I slept in after a late-night Netflix binge. I said I was training my body, but made excuses to skip the gym on inconvenient days. I believed I was focused until I saw how much time I wasted scrolling mindlessly. Every small action is not just a choice. It's a brick laid in the foundation of who you are becoming. And the danger is this: habits never arrive with loud footsteps. They come quietly, gently, like a drip in the night, until they wear a hole through the very part of you that once felt strong. Seneca once said, "We are not overwhelmed by a tidal wave, but by thousands of tiny drops we ignore." And that is how you lose yourself. Not through one dramatic failure, but through countless small behaviors repeated daily, each one except with, "It's no big deal." If you begin each morning by scrolling social media for 30 minutes, you're not just wasting time. You're training your mind to believe that each new day starts not with intention, but with consumption. If you keep skipping plans because today's too busy, you're conditioning yourself to believe that discipline only matters when it's convenient. And if you say, "I'll do it later," but never begin, you're not just delaying action, you're burying your belief in your own capacity to change. Take a close look at your life right now. No justification, no judgment. Just observe the habits you repeat, the things you do without thinking, the automatic responses, the choices you no longer see as choices. These are the clearest proof of the future you are building, whether you're aware of it or not. Don't underestimate the power of small acts. One page of reading a day may not make you a scholar, but it teaches you persistence. A 15-minute workout won't turn you into an athlete, but it teaches you to keep your word. A single minute of quiet meditation each morning won't enlighten you, but it teaches you to return to yourself. And when you repeat the right actions long enough, you don't have to force yourself to become someone. You naturally become that person. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind. If you would only learn to train it, it will obey." But that training is not glamorous. It's the silent reinforcement of right habits every day, without excuse, without exception. If you want to change your life, don't look at the year ahead. Look at the next 24 hours. Because what you choose to do today and repeat tomorrow will shape your own horizon. You don't need a breakthrough. You just need a series of conscious choices, repeated with discipline, protected by consistency, whether on easy days or hard ones. And one day, you'll wake up, look in the mirror, and realize you are no longer who you used to be, not because of a miracle, but because you quietly rebuilt yourself with small daily acts called action. 5. Greatness isn't free. It demands a trade-off. Everyone says they want a great life, a strong body, a fulfilling career, a clear and peaceful mind. But when you ask what they're willing to trade for it, the answer is often silence. Not because they don't know, but because they hope there's an easier path, a way to reach the summit without letting go of anything familiar, comfortable, or pleasant. I once fell into that trap myself. I wanted to write a book, yet refused to skip weekend hangouts. I wanted a healthy body, but still rewarded myself with fast food after a long day. I wanted freedom in my work, but feared the uncertainty that came with leaving my comfort zone. And then I realized I wanted the result, but I didn't want to pay the price. But the truth is, nothing great comes without cost. You can't have focus if you won't abandon distraction. You can't build a resilient body if you don't give up snoozing and mindless eating. You can't have a peaceful mind if you won't face your true emotions in solitude rather than escape into easy entertainment. Greatness isn't free. It's always expensive, and the price is often the very thing you least want to let go of. Epictetus was once a slave, enduring pain in both body and spirit. But from within that limitation, he forged an unshakable resilience no free man could match. He didn't choose that fate, but he chose how to respond to meet it with reason, with discipline, and with the willingness to release what he couldn't control. Just as a blade is only sharpened in fire, you become exceptional only by walking through enough trials without surrender. The people you admire, the ones who write books that make you reflect, who build careers that stir your envy, who live with a serenity you crave, they don't have more potential than you. They've just accepted more trade-offs than you. They gave up meaningless parties to study. They declined applause to pursue their values. They embraced loneliness to grow. The problem is, you want everything without giving up anything. You want freedom without letting go of comfort. You want wisdom but won't read when bored. You want peace but refuse to walk through your anger. And then you tell yourself you're just unlucky, that life is too harsh, that maybe you're not cut out for it. But no, you're not lacking opportunity. You're lacking the courage to let go. Seneca once wrote, "No one is more unfortunate than the man who has never been tested, for he never had the chance to prove himself." If you keep avoiding hardship, if you cling to everything soft and easy, you are rejecting the opportunity to meet the strong version of yourself. Just like climbing a mountain, you can't carry everything with you. The higher you go, the more you must leave behind. Toxic relationships, procrastinating habits, unmanaged emotions, time-wasting indulgences you used to call relaxation. You cannot rise while clutching what's weighing you down. Trade-offs are not losses. They are deliberate choices. They are how you say, "I know what I want, and I'm willing to pay for it." When you let go of ease, you're not punishing yourself. You're clearing the path for a deeper, weightier, more meaningful life. And when you look back, you'll see the hardest thing to let go wasn't a habit or an object or even comfort. It was the old version of yourself, the one who made excuses, who delayed, who wanted everything but gave up nothing. And when you're finally brave enough to say goodbye to that person, you'll meet someone new, stronger, clearer, and more grounded in every step. 6. Comfort is a trap disguised as kindness. There's a kind of enemy that never screams in your face. It doesn't curse, doesn't attack, doesn't leave visible wounds. On the contrary, it comes gently, kindly, like an old friend inviting you to rest. It asks you to stay 5 more minutes in bed, eat 1 more meal just for pleasure, skip a workout because it's not that urgent. And so you fall into the softest trap ever created: comfort. Comfort doesn't come to kill you. It comes to soften you, bit by bit. It dulls your sharpness, your decisiveness, your passion for what once set you on fire. It makes it easy to excuse procrastination, to overlook small slips, to justify with "everyone has weak moments." But comfort doesn't just kill goals, it kills grit. It drains your inner strength quietly until you can no longer tell the difference between a reasonable rest and the habit of giving up. I once lived in that trap. And it was so sweet I didn't want to leave. Every time I tried to change, I found a reason to wait. Every time I planned to train, I told myself, tomorrow will be better. Every time I chose to read instead of scroll, I thought I deserved to relax. I wasn't doing anything wrong, but I wasn't doing anything right either. I called it taking a break. In truth, I was slowly retreating silently, without a sound. Do you know why most of us don't grow the way we hope? It's not due to a lack of opportunity. It's not because life is unfair. It's because we refuse to leave our comfort zone. We build a cocoon of familiar habits, avoiding anything that makes us uncomfortable and then wonder why we remain stuck. Epictetus once said, "You don't know who you are until you are forced to fight what weakens you." And in our age, what weakens you is not adversity. It's convenience. It's choices that are too easy. It's the ability to silence every alarm with a swipe of your screen. Look at someone who stayed in their comfort zone for years. They're not lazy. They're just used to a life that requires no effort. And that's what drains them, not physically, but mentally. Like a blade left unused, they haven't broken, but they've dulled to the point they can't cut through anything that matters. And are you choosing comfort over growth? Are you avoiding the pain necessary for growth? Are you living as if each day is meant to be more comfortable than the last, instead of stronger than the last? The truth is, if you don't choose at least one uncomfortable task each day, you're giving up a chance to forge yourself. Every time you step into discomfort, you expand your mental threshold. Every time you choose what's hard over what's familiar, you remind yourself, I'm not here to live as a safe version of myself. You don't need to become a warrior today. But you must begin with a single deliberate act against comfort. Train when you want to rest. Read when you want to scroll. Focus when your mind seeks distraction, not because it's fun, but because it's right. Remember, comfort has never been the reward. It is only the pause before decline. It's like sinking into a soft couch in a slowly flooding room. You don't notice you're drowning because it's still warm, but one day you'll wake up and realize you've lost yourself. No more goals, no more sharpness, no more resolve to do the hard thing. That's why, if you're truly serious about your life, you must learn to face discomfort. And more than that, you must learn to be grateful for it. Because in discomfort, you rediscover your strength. You rediscover yourself. 7. Big changes are built from small victories, repeated. We're often obsessed with those breakthrough moments, sudden transformations. Dramatic success stories told with cinematic flair, as if one bold act could instantly rewrite a life. But the truth is far quieter than that. Change doesn't live in the thrilling leap, it lives in the small wins, repeated so consistently that you no longer realize you're winning. And then one day, you look back and realize you left your old self behind without even noticing. I once knew a man named Nate. He wasn't exceptional. No special talents, no striking appearance, no privileged background. But Nate had something rare. He didn't quit after his first small win. On his first day at the gym, he could only do 2 push-ups. He went home sore, disappointed, but he didn't stop. On day 2, he did 3. A week later, 5. A month later, 10. A year later, he didn't just have a new body, he had become a new man. A man who could do the right thing without needing an audience, without needing recognition, and without needing instant results. Change doesn't arrive like a storm. It comes like the steady rain on a midnight roof. you don't hear it, but by morning, the garden is green again. You don't need to do something great today. You just need to win against yourself once and repeat it tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up each day trying to be a great emperor. He simply sat down, wrote his thoughts, reminded himself to live by reason, to guard his human dignity. Day after day, he didn't try to build a legacy. He simply tried not to betray himself. And those intentional days became meditations, a living map for millions who came after him. Pause and look directly at what you've been putting off. Maybe it's reading regularly. Maybe it's starting a new project. Maybe it's the first step of a long journey you've dreamed of for years. You think you need a big shift to begin. But in truth, you only need one small act right now. Write one sentence. Turn off your phone for 10 minutes. Walk for 15. Drink water instead of soda. Stand up instead of staying in bed. One simple act. Do it now, no extra thinking. Because the biggest trap doesn't lie in the difficulty of your goals. It lies in the feeling of not enough. You think 5 minutes of reading is pointless. You think saying no to sugar once is meaningless. You tell yourself, next year I'll get serious. But you forget, your life doesn't change in big moments. It changes in the hundreds of small ones you dismiss. You don't need to overhaul your life in a day, but you do need to begin one different behavior today and do it enough that it begins to change you. Science calls it the compound effect. The Stoics call it mental training. I call it loyalty to your future self. And if you still find it hard to start, try something simple. Count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and get up. No emotion required, no reason necessary. Act first. Motivation will follow. Because the beautiful truth is, every time you win over yourself, even with one tiny act, you're rewriting the story of who you're becoming. Every small win is a brick. Repeat it long enough, and you'll build an unshakable fortress of willpower. Big change doesn't need drama. It needs consistency. It needs someone, maybe you, to quietly choose what's right each day, even when no one claps. And then one day that person will stand in a place they once thought impossible. 8. Take responsibility or live a life others decide for you. There's a question that seems harmless, but if you dare answer it honestly, it could change the direction of your life. Who is responsible for your current situation? And you'll be surprised to see how most people never ask themselves that question. They live in a loop of blaming family, education, ex-lovers, bosses, the market, circumstances, genetics, even luck. Anything, so long as it isn't themselves. I used to be one of those people. When work didn't go well, I blamed the environment. When I had no time to train, I blamed my schedule. When I couldn't write for months, I blamed the lack of inspiration. Every failure came with a reasonable excuse, and the scary part was, I believed them. Until one day, I looked in the mirror, and in that quiet moment, I had to admit, no one else was at the wheel of my life. I was the one driving, but I had been pretending I wasn't. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you rise in the morning, remember you are the one responsible for your soul. Not the government, not your parents, not your childhood. Only you with every thought you nurture, every choice you make, and every action you repeat each day." It's easy to live as a victim, because when you're a victim, you don't have to change. You just complain, whine, and tell stories. You'll get sympathy, comfort, even forgiveness for your stagnation. But what's the cost? Your personal power, your ability to steer your life, your role as the master of your fate replaced by the passive seat of a passenger on your own ship. Responsibility isn't a burden. It's the quiet force that gives you back control. When you take responsibility, you're no longer the product of your circumstances, you become the architect of a new path. When you stop blaming, you start changing. When you say, "I'm the reason things got this way," you're also saying, "And I'm the one who can put it right." I've met people whose lives were shaped by pain no one would choose. Abusive childhoods, youth filled with debt, families torn apart. And yet they said to themselves, "I may not be responsible for the wound, but I am responsible for the healing." And that one sentence saved them. Not help, not motivation, but a quiet decision. I'm done waiting for someone else to fix this life. You can make that decision too. No big announcement, no social media post. Just one honest moment, one clear look at the truth. I am the cause, and I am the solution. From that day on, you no longer wait for perfect conditions to change. You no longer wait for permission to move forward. You don't need saving anymore, because now you see it. You're not broken, you've just been delaying. And you can turn everything around if you're willing to stand up and take full responsibility for your life. No one can do it for you. No one can live for you. No one can pay the price for you. And no one else can claim the glory when you finally take that decisive step forward. It all begins with something simple, yet profoundly brave. Stop blaming. Start owning. Right now. I don't write these words from the standpoint of someone who has it all figured out. I write from the experience of someone who delayed for far too long, who mastered the art of excuses, who lived as if there would always be another day to fix what was neglected today. But I was wrong. There is no future day spacious enough to hold what you refuse to begin now. Every change within me didn't come from sudden bursts of inspiration, but from small actions, quietly repeated. Each morning I chose to rise instead of sleep in. Each time I wrote a paragraph when no one cared. Each hard decision I made on my own, these little by little, shaped a version of me that is more disciplined, more clear-minded, and more intentional. I'm not someone special, and you don't need to become anyone else. You just need to start and keep your promise to yourself every day, without needing a reason. If this journey has touched something within you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next content. And wherever you are, however you feel today, remember this: your life won't change because of a miracle. It will change because of you. I'll see you in the next video.